Dark Brandon is back in his first appearance since undergoing treatment for aggressive prostate cancer, and he has a very bleak view of America under President Trump. Also, will Kamala Harris return to politics? We can all hope she was just joking when she said yes. Also, Democrats like AOC and Gavin Newsom are pandering and code switching with different accents. It's not the first time. It's not going to be the last time. I don't know why they always do this, but we're going to get into it. Also, an abortion clinic in Wisconsin is having a contest, and they say whoever wins will have bragging rights and a boost for their resume. Is hell hiring? Put your phones on Do Not Disturb. Nightly Scroll starts now. Love it. I love all the Halloween stuff. Someone in the chat said MAGA Medusa. Exactly. The only thing, maybe if these said Make America Great Again, that would be the only thing that would make this better. But love it. All right. So in true Halloween form, right? Dark Brandon is back. But here's what he had to say about the state of America. He says it's dark. Watch.
Friends, I can't sugarcoat any of this. These are dark days.
These are
We're
dark
one of
days.
the only countries in the world that time and again has come out of every crisis we faced stronger than we went into that crisis. Every one. And after half a century of watching this, sometimes move to the brink before finding our true compass again. I still believe we'll emerge, as we always have. Stronger, wiser, more resilient, more just. So long as we keep the faith, remember who in God's name we are.
So I read an article about this because he's doing this speech and, you know, like I said, he thinks that, you know, America's bleak right now. He says it's dark right now in our country. And here's what the article that ABC did said. Biden listed examples in this speech of people who are standing their ground against threats from the current administration, citing the example of federal employees who resign in protest and universities and comedians that have been targeted by Trump. This is what he said. The late night hosts continue to shine a light on free speech, knowing their careers are on the line. So President Trump, he says, you know, things are looking bleak because he claims that President Trump is cracking down on free speech. Well, it wasn't under, you know, President Trump's administration where the First Amendment was under attack. That was the Biden administration. Now, Biden falsely ran on unity. He said that he would bring the country together. He didn't. He did none of that. He did the opposite. He divided us. He called Trump supporters garbage. And he told unvaccinated people that they would die if they didn't listen to him. Here's a direct quote from the then sitting president of the United States, Joe Biden. For the unvaccinated, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death for yourselves, your families, and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm. Yeah, that's not spoken like a true president who's trying to bring us all together. So he also went on to say in that speech, so our message to every American is clear. There is action you can take to protect yourself and your family. Wear a mask in public indoor settings. Get vaccinated, get your kids vaccinated, and get a booster shot when you're eligible. And he wasn't just suggesting the vaccine. His administration mandated it. People lost their jobs, their livelihoods because of it. And his administration and staff verbally abused Meta employees. Mark Zuckerberg has come out and since admitted that. We also know, thanks to many people in the House Oversight Committee and Judiciary Committees, these patriots on our side that have exposed members of the Biden administration that were literally telling Meta employees to censor people on social media who were talking about COVID-19, and they were putting out COVID-19 content that wasn't in line with what the government was saying. So Biden was a tyrant that claimed to be pro-free speech, and he wants us to all like kumbaya and come together when he was the divider in chief. He was a liar. And his sidekick borders R. Harris. As we know, she's been on her book tour, attempting to sell a book called 107 Days after her 107-day campaign for president, which was a total flop. And this is just an aside, but I did go to Barnes & Noble recently. This was not this weekend, but last weekend. And I had finished a book, and I wanted to go pick up some more. So we could play this video if you have it. I'm walking through Barnes & Noble, and here's the mystery and thriller section, and 107 Days by Kamala Harris is right under the sign. Why is 107 Days by Kamala Harris in mystery and thriller? It's kind of like adjacent to it, but right under the sign. So at first I was kind of like, that's weird. But then I thought about it, and it really is a mystery how she came to be the nominee without receiving any votes from the American people. And it would be very scary if she had won. So that would be like all of us living through a real life thriller. But yeah, this really scary part is I don't think she's done with politics after all. She did an interview with the BBC, and here she is saying that she's not done. Watch.
In terms then of what is next for you, you write very powerfully about the differences that many women have made to your life, whether that was your meeting with Angela Merkel or the experience of growing up with your extraordinary mother or the stories of your baby nieces, Amara and Leela. When are they going to see a woman in charge in the White House?
In their lifetime, for sure.
Could it be you? Possibly. Have you made a decision yet?
No, I have not.
But you say in your book, I'm not done.
That is correct. I am not done. I have lived my entire career a life of service, and it's in my bones. And there are many ways to serve. I've not decided yet what I will do in the future beyond what I am doing right now.
But you've been very clear that it's a possibility you might run again to become president. And in my experience interviewing politicians, when someone says I'm not done, it means they are thinking seriously about running. But when you look at the bookies' odds, they put you as an outsider, even behind Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I mean, is that underestimating you?
I think there are all kinds of polls that will tell you a variety of things. I've never listened to polls. If I listened to polls, I would have not run for my first office or my second office. And I certainly wouldn't be sitting here in this interview.
Well, maybe Kamala Harris should start listening to some polls, because it would save us a lot of Kamala Harris word salads. But I did think it was very funny that this BBC interviewer did not let her off the hook. The BBC interviewer was saying, you know, just so that you know, the bookies are saying that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is more popular than you are. That is so embarrassing. And now, not only is Kamala Harris not done, Kamala Harris is also not finished. She's still speaking. Listen to this.
Gen Z and Latinos in some numbers moved across to Trump. You stayed in your comfort zone, didn't you? That was the Democrats' problem.
I received 75 million votes from a variety of people.
But in the Electoral College, you were far outdone.
I'm not finished.
I'm not finished. I hate when she says that. It's so annoying. And it's such a cop-out. We all know this. She doesn't want to answer these questions. She doesn't want to answer tough follow-up questions about what she did wrong, why she lost as badly as she did. She says this lie that it was like the closest presidential race in the 21st century or something. What are you talking about? Donald Trump blew her out of the water. Every swing state. He won the Electoral College. He won the popular vote. He wiped the floor with her. I don't know if she keeps telling herself the lie that maybe it'll become true to her. But as we know, she doesn't answer tough questions, which is why she didn't win. You have to be an effective communicator, and she cannot communicate regardless, but she certainly couldn't communicate her platform. She could barely get through friendly interviews when she was on the campaign trail. And even then, you know, CNN and 60 Minutes, they had to tape the interviews. They weren't live. They had to edit her to make her sound coherent. But Congressman Eric Swalwell has a new standard for the next Democrat president. Let's pull this up on X. Here's what he had to say about the next president. He's got a bone to pick about this new White House ballroom. He says this: "Don't even think about seeking the Democratic nomination for president unless you take a pledge to take a wrecking ball to the Trump ballroom on day one." What is their problem with the ballroom? What is their problem with President Trump renovating the East Wing? Well, it's because it's Trump. You know, I covered last week on the show, Hillary Clinton was like, this is the people's house and it's not his house, it's your house. I mean, really? Her husband defiled the Oval Office and then she stayed with him. That's embarrassing to do in the people's house, but whatever. Obama built a basketball court that doesn't benefit anyone except him. I mean, it's not like people come and visit the White House and go shoot hoops. It doesn't do anything for the people. So if Democrats are claiming that, what these renovations are supposed to do are supposed to benefit the people, then President Trump's President Trump's renovation is the only one that will really benefit more than himself. And also, Obama's basketball court, as we know, is paid for by the taxpayers. It was a government-funded project. And as we know, President Trump's ballroom is going to be paid for by him personally and by private donors. So it will not come out of the taxpayer's pocket, which I'm grateful for. But I will say the ballroom is much more useful than a basketball court or the bowling alley that Nixon put in or any of those things. And, most people complaining, by the way, a lot of these like leftist loser grifters on X, they're never going to be invited to the White House anyway. They've never seen the East Wing. They've never seen the West Wing. They'll never go to the White House in their whole lives. So they're just complaining because it's Trump. And they're complaining about this. They call it the demolition because obviously they are demolishing the East Wing to rebuild it and to rebuild this ballroom. But they're acting like they're just going to leave a pile of frickin' dirt on the ground and not do anything with it. Like he's demolishing the White House as if, the builder-in-chief is just going to let it sit in disrepair.
Or they've never seen a construction site before.
Yeah, it's just totally ridiculous. So, the Democrats are just pissed off. And, I told you last week that Hakeem Jeffries is going to launch an investigation into what he thinks is a pay-for-play scheme. He thinks that the donors, the private donors that are donating money for this ballroom are, they're going to get something like one hand washes the other kind of thing. I scratch your back, you scratch mine. And now Elizabeth Warren is using this as ammo in her battle against big business and billionaires. She hates billionaires. So this is what she put on X. She's talking about, what do these corporate donors expect in return for their money? It looks like bribery for special favors from the Trump administration. And people on this post were commenting, what do your corporate donors expect out of you, Elizabeth Warren? So she's concerned that Google and Apple, they are, donating money to this ballroom, and Google and Apple are some of Elizabeth Warren's top campaign donors, donating tens of thousands of dollars. So if she has a problem with Google and Apple donating to political causes, she should give that money back. Pocahontas, if this is dirty money to you, if taking money from Google or Apple is like dirty money to you, and you assume that if you take money from Google or Apple, then you have to do something for them in return, then expose what you were doing in return to Google and Apple, or give the money back. I mean, how do you take yourself seriously demonizing these corporations and capitalism and then you take their money? Totally hypocritical, but as we know, that's the Democrats' playbook last week, and it got people in the mainstream media all fired up. But he said, we're going to kill the cartels. Watch this.
Mr. President, if you are declaring war against these cartels and Congress is likely to approve of that process, why not just ask for a declaration of war?
Well, I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay? We're going to kill them. They're going to be like dead. Okay? Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I absolutely love it. Of all the things that we voted for, getting rid of cartel members in any way possible, that's on the list. This is what I voted for, especially because President Trump is synonymous with border policy, with building the wall, with closing the wall, with protecting our borders. This is all very important to Trump supporters. This is all very important, by the way, to most Republicans, I would say, even the rhinos, even most level-headed Democrats of like the 1990s and early 2000s would say, or even the late 2000s, basically before Trump, would say we need to secure our southern border and all of our borders, because if you don't have a border, you don't have a country. You don't have safety. You don't have any of that. You don't have security. So this is very important to most people with a level head, right? And as we've seen, the Mexican drug cartels trafficking women and children across the border for money. They are trafficking drugs across the border to kill us slowly in all of our communities. You don't have to live in a border city. You don't have to live in a sanctuary city. You don't have to live in California, New Mexico, Arizona, Texas. You can die from fentanyl anywhere. And where is that? Drugs. Where is all of that coming from? The Mexican drug cartels, and they're bringing it across the southern border into this country. So I fully support President Trump doing whatever he needs to end that, to make us safe again, to protect us, and to close the border that Biden opened. Okay? So that's where I stand on all of it. But listen to how MSNBC is interpreting this. Watch.
Basically, the president, and I want to kind of foot stomp behind Paul here about a plan. The American president has said, I can point the U.S. military any place I want and kill anyone I want. That eventually is going to become a principle in the domestic use of the military.
Yes.
He is acclimating people to the notion that the military is his private army, unconstrained by law, unconstrained by norms, unconstrained by American traditions. And that, I don't really think this has anything to do with drugs. I mean, sometimes I wonder how far he's going to go to stop the release of the Epstein files and how many distractions he's going to throw at us. But this is about getting out from under his already dismal record, his record low approval ratings, his struggling with a scandal. And he is now saying, I am going to acclimate the American public to the use of military force anywhere I deem it appropriate under any circumstances. And I may well, the president may be thinking, I may well have us in a war by the time the elections roll around, which will enable me to say any opposition to me and my party is basically treason and unpatriotic.
Tom Nichols, your brain and my brain have gone to...
I love how she's not biased whatsoever. Your brain and my brain have gone to this very same place, that President Trump is just going to be on a freaking killing spree. And, you know, what's crazy, first of all, when Democrats claim that they care about the Epstein files, it's rich. It really is rich, because we've been caring about this for a long time. If you're on the right side, and I mean literally the right side of history, but if you are on the right side politically, we've been sounding the alarm about human trafficking, child trafficking, save our children, all of this for years. For years. This was something that President Trump campaigned on, by the way. This is something that I would say most Republicans are for. And remember that movie, what the hell is it called? Sound of Freedom. That movie, Sound of Freedom, about the child trafficking organization. And, you know, when Republicans were making videos about this, like I went to go see it, I made videos about it. People on the left were claiming that it was a hoax, that child trafficking is just like not a thing and it's not happening. Like that was the left's response to that, which is so odd, because you can literally go to like any government website, DHS, FBI, and you can get stats, like legitimate horrific stats on human trafficking and child trafficking, which is, it sounds like a third world country problem, but it is happening here, unfortunately, at alarming rates. So we've been sounding the alarm about this forever. Democrats have been calling us, I don't know, like hoaxsters because of it. Now, all of a sudden, they want to know about Epstein because they think that Trump's in the files. But again, if he was in the files in any way that, you know, they could have used to get Trump, they would have done it. So we already know that that's just a lie. So now they claim that like anything that President Trump does or this administration does is a distraction from Epstein. Also, them claiming that President Trump is just going to go around and like kill anyone he pleases, including American citizens, and wage a war with I don't know who. They just said like President Trump's going to wage war. Like, okay, like on us?
Isn't this exactly
on
what
liberals?
Isn't this exactly what we've seen media do to Trump? He said with no like
he played the clip.
Yeah, it said I want to get rid of the cartels. And so that got connected cartels, which are drugs and people and money across the border. He connected that to waging war in random streets in the U.S. and the Epstein files in 1 minute and a half soundbite.
So according to the left, Donald Trump is a murderous, crazy person. And according to Jasmine Crockett, he is racist. Listen to this.
Like, I'm going to just call a thing a thing. Like, this administration is racist. That he has always been a racist, and that is what we are enduring in this country. Let me give you some facts behind this racism. And they get mad when I say the things that I say, but I will not stop speaking the truth. Number one, I said that what we were experiencing in this country felt like what I would imagine slave patrols to look like. And frankly, anybody that knows anything about slave patrols, this is exactly what it was like. We're talking about lawless people that are going around with no warrants or anything, and it's all about rounding people up and disappearing them. That is what's currently taking place. And interestingly enough, even though modern day policing was born out of slave patrols, when I was speaking with one of my friends who is a federal law enforcement officer, he told me that one of the things that he has observed is that the culture is created at the top. And when I think about it, it absolutely makes sense. If you have somebody at the top that will not tolerate the types of things that we're seeing, then maybe those under you won't do it. But we know that we have a racist at the top. He has called himself the head law enforcement agent in this country, and therefore everybody has decided that it is okay to take off their hoods and mask up as ICE agents.
Okay. So not only are ICE agents being labeled as the Gestapo, Trump's secret police, and now slave patrols and people in hoods, as Jasmine Crockett puts it. I mean, attacks on ICE agents are up more than 1,000% since this time last year. And ICE agents are not racist. The Trump administration is not racist. It's a stupid claim. But ICE agents are not targeting people based on their skin color. They're targeting people based on their documentation status. You can be whatever color you want. You can be green. You can have scales. As long as you have your papers, you're fine. As long as you come into this country the right way, you're fine. Nobody is being disappeared. The people who are being detained are breaking the law. But she claims that ICE agents are engaging in thuggery. If law enforcement is engaging in thuggery, then what word or words would you use to describe protesters who throw bricks into Gucci to loot a pair of sneakers in the name of social justice? Because if ICE agents are thugs, then what is that? If law enforcement is engaging in thuggery, then what would you describe the protests of 2020 when black-owned businesses were burned to the ground? If ICE agents are thugs, then what the fuck was that? And she brings up a good point about masked agents, right? ICE agents have to be in masks. And nobody would have to be masked if the left weren't doxing them and threatening their lives. So anytime a liberal complains about that, they should just look in the mirror or look at the protesters on that side of the aisle that routinely resort to violence against law enforcement, throwing bricks at their heads, threatening their families. If you don't want law enforcement to wear masks, then don't threaten them. Because they didn't always wear masks. But they're wearing masks now based on how the left is treating them. Anyway, Gavin Newsom, he's, I guess, campaigning, I would say.
This podcast, what All the Smoke, it's a culturally like relevant podcast, and it goes from like a Stephen A. Smith kind of thing, right? Because it's but these two guys, just some context, are ex NBA basketball players. So he's trying to be, this is cool, Gav.
He's fitting in. He's code switching.
Boom.
Again, this is why Kamala Harris, remember she said that she picked Tim Walz because he could code switch and talk to white guys? Gavin Newsom is now a white guy who's trying to code switch and talk to black guys. Anyway.
That's what it looks like.
The first clip, this is Gavin Newsom saying that anti-woke is anti-black. Listen to this.
60s world. You got the Supreme Court talking about getting rid of the Voting Rights Act. And that's very real.
Yeah.
That may likely happen in just a matter of months. I mean, they're rewriting history, censoring historical facts. It's a unbelievable moment. All this anti-woke stuff is just anti-black.
Mm-hmm.
Period, full stop. All the CRT, ESG, DEI stuff, that's all this is.
Mm-hmm.
It's this great purge, and it's happening in real time. And I'm sitting here, and I feel like, luckily I'm governor, but like we're not doing enough.
Right.
We're not calling this out. We're not drawing a line here. And again, it's not about Democrats or Republicans. It's about who we've
Right and wrong,
man. Yeah,
right
it's
and
right
wrong.
and goddamn wrong. Daylight and darkness.
Someone in the chat said, watch the hands. He's like, yo, 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 my name is Joe.
Rapper Newsom.
Lil Newsom. Lil Newsom in the house.
Lil Newsy. What's the purpose of this though? Like, who are you? It's his base. Like, who are you?
How do
what are
these
you
guys
doing?
not? How do these guys not call him out to his face? Like, you're literally acting black. Like, don't the left hates that. They always call out cultural appropriation. Like, Gavin Newsom's sitting on this podcast appropriating black culture, and they're like okay with it. He's also saying that DEI, getting rid of DEI is racist, when, as we know, DEI is racist because it forces you to look at black people as if they're less than, which is racist. So anyway, but here is Newsom debuting his black scent, if you will.
But also, it was also about paying the bills, man. And it was just like hustling. And so I was out there kind of raising myself.
Yeah, right.
Turning on the TV, started, just getting obsessed, sitting there with the Wonder Bread and 5 stacks of,
Man, it's like the White Stack 5 story.
Man. Come on. Kraft macaroni and cheese.
Yeah.
This is how I grew up, bro.
Yeah.
Are you talking about me?
Young YG.
That's it.
YG,
But
man, I do it.
every day in the backyard, just bouncing the basketball, throwing the ball against the wall until the ball is just like fraying, man, and your arms
Entertaining
fall
yourself.
off. That's it, whole thing. So just and then then this student that was shitty student is in the back with his head down. All of a sudden, started throwing the baseball a little faster than everyone else, and started make a few free throws because I was sitting there practicing 500 of them every damn night. And in high school, I look up in the stands, my dad's back up there.
Okay, dope.
And it's like, man, and then he's bringing his friends and you're captain of the team and you're like, gee, and it just saved me and it got me into college.
This is an SNL skit. This is an SNL skit in real life. The fact that, again, he's on this podcast, and I think at that point in that last clip that we were playing, they get it. Like, they're realizing that Gavin Newsom is full of shit, and he's literally the whitest piece of Wonder Bread, talking about eating Wonder Bread, stacks of Wonder Bread sandwiches, eating macaroni and cheese, bouncing the basketball until it frays, man.
Look,
man.
The part about this, little sis, that like gets like frustrating is Gavin Newsom was a pretty good athlete. I mean, he was, all this stuff he's saying, I mean, practice throwing baseball. Who cares about any of that stuff? He didn't grow up that way. Like, he wasn't broke.
No.
And
As
that's
a
the
matter
point
of
that
fact,
sucks. It's like if you love ball and you're throwing a baseball around, every kid that wants to be an athlete throwing a ball up against a wall, that's happens all over the country.
This is called having a childhood.
Don't act like you're broke,
Yeah.
though. That's the thing.
Well, here's the thing. Gavin Newsom was not broke. His dad was a bigwig lawyer representing the Getty family. And, something tells me that when you grow up very wealthy, you're not eating white bread and macaroni sandwiches. Something tells me that they weren't worried about paying the bills and hustling, man. And something tells me that Gavin Newsom, with two well-off parents, he wasn't raising himself. You had two well-off parents.
But that's the thing. That's the grift. He wasn't okay. You played ball, you practiced, you hustled, you did all that stuff. Like that's welcome to the club, being an athlete.
Like you have a normal upper to middle class childhood.
100%. But don't BS people trying to say you were poor. It wasn't the case.
Regardless of your socioeconomic status, every child in this country can probably say that they've bounced a basketball around. So this is Gavin Newsom's attempt at connecting with black people. I too have bounced a basketball, my black friends. It's okay to be white. I know Democrats don't feel that way, but Gavin Newsom, if you're watching, and I know you are, it's okay to be white. You can be white. And the worst thing that you can do if you're campaigning for anything is to be fake. It's much better to be genuine, to be authentic. Stop stealing President Trump's jokes on X and stop pretending to be black and stop pretending to be poor because everyone knows that you're not. So just own it. Zoran Mamdani doesn't really pretend that he wasn't rich. He's just for the opposite.
That's what blows my mind is that dude is actually he's saying what he thinks.
Yeah.
And it's
hypocritical.
It's scary, but at least he's honest about it.
Totally. Well, here's AOC. And, she was born in the Bronx. She grew up in Yorktown, a suburb in Westchester County, but she was raised by her Puerto Rican abuela. But as you know, I've listened to countless sots of AOC speaking, as has everyone else, and she doesn't have an accent, but here she is putting one on to pander. Watch.
Jews escaping Holocaust, Black Americans fleeing slavery and Jim Crow, Latinos seeking a better life, Native people standing for themselves, Asian Americans coming together in Queens, in Brooklyn, in the Bronx, in Manhattan, in Staten Island, in this country.
So the same way that Gavin Newsom panders, AOC panders. As we know, she doesn't have an accent. She just does it so that, Latinos in the crowd cheer for her. So Gavin Newsom pretends to be black. AOC really leans into the Latina thing. We remember President Joe Biden dancing to Despacito. Dr. Jill Biden, si se puede, si se puede. Girl, this is why you don't pretend to be something that you're not. Because that's like the whitest pronunciation ever. That's wrong. Hillary Clinton on the campaign trail. I've got hot sauce in my bag. Trying to pander to, people who season their food. It's just totally insane.
I like hot sauce.
I love hot sauce. But
give me some of the hot sauce, Hillary.
She didn't have hot sauce in her
it's
bag.
It's probably laced with something that she's going to wipe everybody out with.
Yeah. See, this is what Hillary Clinton looks like before she drinks her adrenochrome, her hot sauce in her bag. She's got to have her cocktail of whatever so that she doesn't look like the lizard person that she is. But, these people, they think that these minority groups are so stupid. They can't be falling for this. They just can't. I do have some good news before we get into scrolling time. So everyone remembers the horrific school shooting at the Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And it was shot up by a crazed trans person, as we remember. And unfortunately, there were a dozen people who were injured, and multiple people were shot, including Sophia Forchess. So I want to show you this video of the 12-year-old girl. She had a bullet lodged in her brain, and she has made a miraculous full recovery. So here she is coming back to school to see all of her friends. Watch. Here she is hugging all of her friends. They're crying. A little group hug, little group powwow, which is one of the most amazing things. And this recovery story is out of this world because her mom, Amy Forchess, is a pediatric critical care nurse in Minneapolis. And so when this shooting happened, a lot of the victims were taken there. And Amy Forchess went to the hospital, rushed into work to help the survivors. She had no idea that her daughter had a bullet lodged in her brain and that she was going to have to help save her own daughter's life. I can't imagine that. And after the surgery that went well, but again, this is a risk, right? There's a bullet in her brain. The odds were not in her favor, but the family and the school community are so prayerful and so hopeful. And this just goes to show how powerful prayer is, because the community has come together. They launched a GoFundMe, and with, 2 children dead, 18 injured, the chances of survival for this little girl were slim. And she made a recovery just before her 13th birthday. Anything is possible. Anything is possible with the power of prayer. So I absolutely love that story. And one more quick, nice update here is from Attorney General James Uthmeyer in Florida, because there was a teacher here in Florida, and she was forcing her students and faculty to address her as MX instead of Ms. or Mrs. And according to the Attorney General here in Florida, that is against Florida law. It is also against the school district policy, because this is in Gainesville, and it must stop immediately. So he sent this letter signed by the Attorney General saying, this has got to stop. If you could click on it, I'll read some of what he said there. But his office received a complaint reporting about this teacher. And, he says usage of MX must stop immediately for at least 2 reasons. First, it is apropos of biological nonsense. Florida schools should be teaching students facts, the truth. I can only imagine how Mix Pythagoras would view this latest development in the county. Second, allowing this woman to force students and even other adults to use this fictitious appellation is intended to impart values that needlessly confuse innocent and impressionable children when they should be learning about math, history, and science. Amazing. Someone in the chat is asking, what is MX? Yeah, it's a good question. MX, I guess, is, again, how does that make you not female or male? I guess because Mr. is male and MS is female, so they've got to come up with something else for the non-binary folks. I mean, it just does make you, it makes me thankful that I live in Florida, where things like this, if they are happening, they're going to crack down and do something about it. But I think that people go into these fields, these like mentally ill, non-binary people, they go into fields with children, in some cases to groom them physically, because that does happen. But I think they know that they can get away with more because kids aren't going to question you. It gives them this power trip. This genderqueer person who thinks that they're kitten self, or I'm not a man, I'm not a woman, I'm something in the middle, or I'm neither. They get to sit in front of or stand in front of, 30 kids in a classroom, and they're in charge. They get to tell them what to say. They say, you must call me MX, and the kids can't say no because we're taught in school to listen to your teacher. Respect your elders, right? So then all these kids have to affirm the delusion of, MX. But that's why these people go into schools, because they're not going to get pushback. And in most blue states, I'm sure there are anti-discrimination laws where you have to call someone by their preferred pronoun, which, to the Attorney General's point, not only are you imposing this on impressionable children, but you're also forcing other adults to call you this thing. It's made up. It's totally made up. Anyway, here's one more story. One more story before we get to scrolling time. Sorry. There is an abortion clinic in Milwaukee, and they are attempting to promote the business and raise money in a very disgusting way. They are holding a contest to name its new vacuum aspirator. So it says, name our new aspirator, donate $10 and suggest a name in the memo. The public will vote on their favorite name in 2 weeks. I don't even want to know what people are going to come up with. It's going to be so vile and disgusting. But here's the caption. We're excited to announce our first ever contest at Care for All. That's the abortion clinic. We received a very generous donation to purchase a new aspirator, the machine we use to provide abortion care. We want to hear from you with what we should name it. Why are we naming this anyway? It's totally insane. It costs $10 to submit a name, and then in a few weeks we'll post the top names. Then you can donate to vote as well. Here's the kicker. Think of the bragging rights, street cred, and the boost on your resume when you tell everyone you named an abortion machine. What? The boost, the street cred? Your resume? What employer would that impress? Who are you working for? Satan himself? If hell is hiring, then I would put that on my resume that I named an aspirator. But this is going to give you street cred? And people, I checked the website, people are donating. I only saw 3 donations, but people are donating. They want to name this aspirator. It's demonic. It's demonic. I know I'm dressed as a lizard person, but this is demonic. All right, let's get into scrolling time. All right. This little girl, I don't know what surgery she had, but she went under anesthesia and she woke up as Tony Soprano. Watch this.
What, motherfucker? What the hell?
I didn't even know this.
Of course she does. What's up? You seeing colors?
Who the hell think you're talking to?
Who the hell you think you're talking to?
You.
Aubrey, you know it's your mom and dad sitting here, right?
It ain't none of your fucking business.
Bro, why are you talking like that? Quit talking like that.
Aubrey, no, motherfucker.
Why are you saying it with an accent?
Bitch, I said what I said.
You're gonna paint the town red?
I'm gonna paint your face red, like a tomato.
Aubrey.
You're going to paint the town red? I'm going to paint your face red, she said, motherfucker.
What'd you say, this kid? Was she Tony Montana in a past life?
Like Tony Soprano. She was, I don't know. And people were in the chat, or people in the comments were saying, is her inner monologue Tony Soprano? Is she just like a mobster inside and then she was under anesthesia and it just came out? Maybe she saw a video or a movie or something. People in the chat are saying maybe maybe she's hearing it at home, but I don't think she is, because the parents didn't have an accent like that. I don't know. Someone said, why would you post it on TikTok? It's funny. I think it's funny. Anyway, this next woman, she's upset that her EBT is going to get cut. Thank you, President Trump. This is Exhibit A on why it needs to be cut. Watch this.
Under my EBT post, somebody asked, why are my nails done? And aside from the fact that, like, I literally got my nails done because I love Halloween and I'm not doing anything for Halloween, and I haven't got my nails done in like 2 fucking months. This isn't my job. And I really just want to do something nice for myself. Are poor people not supposed to do things? Like, I never travel. I've never been out of this fucking country, and I want to go bad. And me and my husband were going to try and make it happen, like, by January, February, and now we got this court case shit, and we can't leave the motherfucking state. Well, he can't. I can't. I'm not leaving without him. What the hell? So it's just like, do you think that poor people never go on vacation? Do you think that poor people just never do anything for themselves?
Yeah.
They do. They do. We do. We do, and we deserve that. Especially, I'm not going to say especially me, but a person such as myself, who the little bit of energy and resources I do have largely goes to helping other people. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get my nails done when I feel like it. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Bye.
Okay, so the nails that she has are similar to mine. Like, I have long nails. These are my natural nails, but I have builder gel on top. It's expensive. She probably has acrylic nails. That costs a lot of money. Depending on where you live, it could cost anywhere from $80 plus. And she had a lot of designs going on her nails, so if I had to guess, those nails cost somewhere around $100. And I wouldn't be shocked if it was more than that. And she asks in the video, are poor people not supposed to do things? Well, poor people can't afford to do things like that. So if you can't afford food, then you're supposed to be using the money for food, not using government assistance to feed your family, and then whatever little money that you do have goes to your nails because she claims she deserves it. No, if you can't afford something, that's fine. You don't get to have it just because you deserve it or you want it. You have to cut yourself off.
Did she say something about going out of the country?
She wanted to go. She says, I'm poor, but I want to travel. I want to go out and see the world. Should she not be?
She ain't the only person that wants to travel. I want to see the coast of Spain.
I haven't been to Europe in a hot minute. I would love to
That's
go to
one
Europe.
more time than I've been to Europe. I've never been to Spain. Or
Never been to
I'd like to see
Spain?
Madrid, Rome.
Someone said you deserve what you can pay for. Agreed. Do your own nails, do your own hair. If you can't afford food, do not be mooching off of the government and then using your money to do funsies. That's not the way that this works. So, boo-hoo that that's coming to an end. All right. The next 2 videos that I have for you to finish off the show are Halloween related, and I am going to try to inject some Halloween content into this week. Now, this first one is Halloween decorations in, these are Halloween decorations in Connecticut that have made this black lady very mad. Watch.
Hanging bodies, police guards in towers, strips of barbed wire. This is all part of the display at the home on Whitney Avenue. It's called the Asylum for the Criminally Insane. And some say that's just what this is, pointing out painful connections with those specific parts.
That's insane for the people to put it out. For a black person like me, very offensive to me and my ancestors.
Mayor Lauren Garrett says that she spoke to the owner to see if they'd be up for making some changes.
When you know better, you can do better. And I was hoping for that, but ultimately it's private property. This is freedom of expression, and we're not going to infringe upon that.
Well, it's a win for free speech, thanks to the mayor who's not going to make these people take down their Halloween decorations. But this is the, what was it called? The Asylum for the Criminally Insane. So this has nothing to do with race. This has to do with whether or not you are a crazy person. Clearly, the barbed wire, this is because this is an asylum for crazy people. And yes, there were decorations of skeletons and people being hung. But all people can be hung. Doesn't matter what color you are. And there were skeletons. Guess what? Skeletons don't have a color. We don't know what color that person was. But they weren't being hung because they were whatever color. This is a Halloween decoration. These are not real life. We have gotten way too soft as a society. If you get triggered by Halloween decorations, go inside. Literally, stay inside. You can't handle it? Get out of the kitchen. You can't go outside and not be triggered by a Halloween decoration? Stay inside. You can't be outside. Not in October, not ever. You can't handle it. And that's okay. But don't come out here and yuck our yums. Like, people are out here trying to have a fun time on Halloween. Let them decorate. Let them put up fun decorations and other things. Like, who cares? This is all in good fun. All right, this next one, this is a little boy, and he made a big mistake in his costume. Watch this.
What did you say?
I farted in my costume and I forgot it was connected.
Well, that wasn't very smart, huh?
Yeah, I forgot the mask was connected.
Yeah, big mistake to wear one of those full, like, what are those called, morph suits? When you've got, it's a full body suit. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, everything's attached. When you're attached like that, you can't fart inside. You can't fart inside because you're going to Dutch oven yourself.
Yeah, you just got to hope it ain't bad, but this kid just
Clearly,
it was
he's sitting
bad.
in the fetal position with his hands covering his nose. He's holding his nose like, I
gonna have to get his
farted
buddy
in my costume.
his buddy and a pocket knife are gonna have to get some ventilation in the back of that thing so he can.
I farted in my costume. I forgot it was connected. I forgot the head was connected. I don't know. I thought that was funny. Poor guy.
His mom was giving no help. She was just letting him bake. Come
He
on,
could
Mom.
have taken it off.
He can't. That's methane. He can't breathe.
No, he can't breathe. Anyway, I thought that was funny. Funny way to end the show. So